Welcome, gamers, to Last Call Gaming. I am one of your hosts, Craig Prowlis. Joining me, as always, is Andrew Montemayor.
I'll give you a nice and very soft yo.
So, on this week's episode, guys, you saw the intro, and Andrew, it's one of the big things I know we were talking about earlier was the Xbox is, no, correct me if I'm wrong, is it rumored to be coming out, or is it actually a set date that it's coming out? The discless Xbox One S.
It's a rumor. I think the website, it's called like Windows Central or something like that, got hold of documents, which I don't know. Stuff like that does happen, doesn't happen, whatever. But it's just rumored, right? The rumor's been that they've been making that Xbox for a while now, that's something that's been coming along.
Right.
So, I mean, it could be when I think it says like May 7th is when it's supposed to drop.
That's what I was thinking. It'd be kind of hard to be a rumor if it's coming out in a month, but I guess stranger things have happened.
I said it's after E3. E3's in June, so you know that could be something that they announce. Or I don't know if I'd waste a spot with that at E3. I'd put it somewhere out there, but yeah, you know, that's news.
The kind of the first question I want to ask you, that's just kind of an easy one. Is this a good or a bad idea for Xbox to release this system? If it is true, this close to us getting a next gen's coming, is it good or bad to launch a discless, all digital console right now?
I mean, there's lots of people who use discless, or I mean, depending on how cheap it is, you could use it for all the apps like Netflix, Hulu, and have all that stuff on there. It honestly is really going to depend on the price point, I feel, of the console, because I don't know, because from the way that it looks and what they've said, it's almost like the S without the disc drive,
right.
Which is already pretty small. It's a nice looking console, and I think the S right now is like $299, $249, yeah, probably. So I don't know exactly what that disc drive saves somebody, but if you're looking at something for $150, there's tons of people who go out there and buy consoles for their kids or their family members and stuff like that, and I mean, with what they've done with this generation and how they've kind of bridged the gap with a lot of the backwards compatibility,
right?
And they're saying that the next Xbox isn't going to leave this one behind. I'm sure you could jump in at a cheap price point and then just use it. Or I mean, it could be that could be the console for someone who's like, you know, I'm only PlayStation, I'm only Switch, but it's super cheap. I could play these exclusives that I didn't get to play, or my Game Pass or something like that. Yeah. And depending on that price, you know, if it's super cheap like that, that's a perfect, you know, jumping in point.
But that's the thing though. What's super cheap? Because what would the price knockoff be? $50? I mean, do you think they're gonna launch it at $150? I don't know if that's. I mean, $200 I would think would be the starting point. No.
I don't know. See, that's what's hard. So you have a console at $250. You have the X, which is higher than that. And then you have this thing. I don't know if you could really. I guess you could make it $50, but.
You mean the drop off point, like drop at $50?
Yeah, but then the next, when the next console is going to come out, though, what is that going to do to the normal S, or is that something that you phase out now, and now you have the discless one at maybe $200, the X at $300, $350, whatever,
right? And
then the new console, or you know, something like that. There's got to be some sort of skewing thing, and I can see them phasing out the S and this being the new version of, you know, the S, all digital.
Well, my question is like, what else are you gaining from an all digital? Like, I know because we were looking at it earlier, and if you take out that, you know, I think it's it's like the Blu-ray 4K disc drive. I mean, are they enhancing it with, like, more memory, right? Because wouldn't that be good on an all-digital console that you need to download the space? Like, a hard drive would make more sense, no?
I have no clue. And see, that's the thing. So I don't know if there's, like, any sort of specs in there as far as, like, is it, like, a SSD drive or anything special? I think it's just a diskless version. And again, I mean, it's definitely not something that's meant for someone like you or me. I have an X, you've got an X. I would get the new console whenever that comes out. I'm not going to buy a diskless version of something a year or so before I know something else is already in the pipeline.
Right.
But, you know, there's tons of people who are waiting to jump in, or tons of people who aren't day one buyers. And, you know, that's perfect for them.
Yeah, because the $200, I mean, is easily your head start on getting your next console. So, like, why am I going to invest $200 on this when the next one's right around the corner? But, I mean, we're getting to that point where, I mean, I've noticed I'm buying more of my games digitally than I am a disc, right?
I buy them physically, and I wish that I have them digitally.
Right.
I do that every single time. But I also do enjoy I don't enjoy, but I mean, it's nice when I play a game that I'm disappointed in or something that I just beat and I know I'm not going to go back and do and just go and trade it in and at least get something back, you know, because I'm not the kind, I collect my classic games, you know, like my Final Fantasies and stuff, but I'm not going to keep, you know, Kingdom Hearts 3 on my shelf for the next 5 years to look at.
Right, and that's the thing. I like buying my collector's edition disc and stuff like that. So when you're buying these all digital games that are still at the same price point, which they normally were, but it's still the same paid for game. How does that affect someone though that like, because this has to be where you live, right? If you don't have internet or you have very slow internet and you're on a system now that is consistently based on download speed for a game, I mean this console clearly isn't for everybody. So like, who are they positioning it to? Like, is this like, this is going towards everyone that's like, oh, here's my second Xbox. Like, it's hard for me to think of this being anybody's starter console, if that makes sense. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's all based on internet. So unless you live somewhere that's got crazy internet,
I wouldn't figure it's somebody's main console. But then again, that it could be for someone who lives out in the middle of nowhere that their internet does work surprisingly well. But there's the closest thing might be some Albertsons or something that, you know, you get the little discounted $5 games or something like that. So instead of waiting for Amazon or this stuff or whatever, they might already be buying it. But then again, that's the thing. They probably already have a console if they want one by then. So I don't see it being anybody's first console, but maybe like a second or something like that. Like I said, you know, perfect point. I have a PlayStation all my life. I want to play some of these Xbox games for it, depending on how cheap it is. Perfect jumping in point, you know. Right. I could spend that little bit of money. Now I've got this. I got 4 or 5 years of whatever many years worth of backlog that I can just cruise through.
Yeah, it's a good little pickup system. If you're in a situation where, because like me too, I've got a PlayStation, I've got a Xbox, and all that stuff. So if you were trying to get another one, or someone, let's say, that didn't have one, it's a good thing to pick up. If it's cheap enough, right? I mean, let's say it is 200. Is 200 cheap enough for you, or are we talking like 149?
I would have to say like 149 realistically. I mean that's personally for me, but I've also already got a console. But if I had like a PlayStation or something else like that, if I was even buying something, I don't know why I would just want to save $50. I would just pay the extra $50.
And you actually get.
But then again, that $50 I could buy a game. But you know, it's really hard to say. What I will say is that I do think it's at an interesting time because Xbox has, you know, been losing the war against PlayStation. You know, PlayStation's been out selling them like crazy. So for them to put something like this out, they must have some sort of faith that it will sell or see some sort of numbers or something out there in the market that it's going to sell, or who knows what else they have lined up maybe to go along with it or something like that. There, you know, it's that's what I think is a little bit more interesting for me to see, is that they would put something out like that, because, you know, with how they have been doing, if I was losing something, you know, getting beat as bad as they are, the last thing I want to do is put out something that I don't think is going to sell and something that seems a bit odd. And it does seem odd, but I also haven't seen the rest of their plan, so who knows?
Well, that was the other thing that I wanted to bring up is, could this be kind of a stepping stone to see how this kind of, you know, device sells, being all digital,
device
for moving into like the Scarlet family? Like when the next gen comes out, do you think they're kind of seeing it? Oh, this one sold really well, so when our next consoles come out, let's make one discless, because obviously there's a market for people buying it. They don't care about the disc anymore. Because I know some people that don't buy disc at all anymore, so they're looking at this thing probably going, cool, that's exactly what I needed it for anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could, and if it saves you a little bit, then, I mean, there's a market.
Yeah, you knock $100 off the next one, and
even at $50, I mean, I still think, you know, that I don't know how hard it is to manufacture the two or what that cost is, but I mean, to have one against the other, I don't think would really. I guess it could hurt in a way, because if you have two separate skewed consoles like that, I don't know how the sales rack to where they really amount to whatever, and then you have your opponent who just has their one console that I'm walking into a store, I'm not confused. I see one PlayStation. I walk into a store, I see two different Xboxes, and I don't know the difference between the two. Now it's up to someone who may or may not know what they're talking about to explain to me the difference between these two.
Right, yeah.
So that's why I said it's...
Casual mom at Christmas could get a little mixed up.
It's very odd, and who knows what they're going to do with it. I mean, it's cool, I guess, and, you know, it's out there for somebody.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting idea, and like I said, we both know people that are all digital guys. So I mean, there's definitely the market there. The question will be when it gets announced or launched. We got to see those first month or so numbers to see if it's doing well. So.
Yeah, you know, it's like the Pro controller. That's not really for me. I haven't really tried one. There's tons of people who swear by it and up and down, and they love those things to death. So
fantastic. So, all right. Well, there's our facts and a little bit of knowledge on that. Facts, or there's the rumor, and there's our opinions on it, guys. But the question is, what do you think of a discless Xbox? One, is it too late in the life cycle to even pump this thing out?
Yes.
Or two, is it a good idea to kind of see what the market is for that? You know, if for any future Xbox projects, you know, is discless something that the mass audience may or may not be interested in? So it's an interesting thing. So we'll see. Next, Andrew, this is kind of the big topic that everyone's talking about, is Google did their announcement.
Speaking of going all digital.
Yeah, speaking of going all digital, of their way to break into the gaming world here. And it comes by the name of Stadia, the Google Stadia. And we just watched the thing on it again, right? There's a good 14-minute video that kind of breaks down the whole segment they had that explained what this thing was going to be. Essentially, what it is that a consumer no longer would need to buy a physical gaming system, that they're going to provide all of that on their end, and that it's unclear how you're going to play the games in terms of a subscription if you're buying them, but you're going to be streaming them from their what do they call it? Yeah, from their data center. So you're looking at all this, Andrew. What do you think about Google trying to jump in, and what do you think about them doing a non-traditional hardware setup, doing it the way that they're doing it?
I don't know, because they didn't really say too much as far as how everything else is going to work. I understand the concept that they're going to stream it. PlayStation has something like that right now, I think, like the PlayStation Classics or whatever,
right,
where you stream the classic games straight to your console. Yeah, and I'm sure it's nothing on the level of what they're doing. It's not even the same thing, but it's a vague idea, I guess, of what it is. And so, I mean, that's the bigger question is... You have to purchase a controller. That is the first sure thing they said you need.
No, you don't. You can hook up any controller that you're already using, but their controller, you can use an Xbox controller and you can use a Sony controller, but when you use theirs, you get to use those two new buttons that they're offering that are
I
specifically for that.
Then. I must have missed that part then. I thought you had to use their
you can use, if you're more comfortable using the Xbox controller or the PlayStation controller, you can use that with the Stadia setup. Which is crazy, right?
Yeah,
so technically you don't need any hardware buy-in.
Well, I mean, you have to at least have a Chromecast or a Chrome TV or something, don't you?
If that's one option. But, earlier in the intro, I said that you don't need any hardware, but that's taking out of context of things you most likely already have.
Household stuff.
Everybody's got a phone that's going to be compatible, and most people will have either a laptop, computer, or a tablet that can also run it.
I think what's more going to make it, too, is... exclusives, that's the only reason anybody really jumps into something. But I do think it looks really cool how I could just be watching a video and hit play now, or even still be able to play something on the go. You know, just hook my phone to a control, go play while I'm on a car ride, or go from one TV or one room to the other, or bust out a tablet and start playing. But are you going to be like buying each game individually, which is what I would imagine you would do?
Yeah, that's the question, is how are they going to disperse this? How do you... Because my big thing was, do you pay for the subscription like a Netflix, and then you get everything that's on there? Or are you paying for a subscription, and then instead of paying $60 for a game that you're no longer going to own, you maybe pay $10 for the game so you can play it anytime now? In terms of maybe... what works? Well, in your mind, what works? Because I couldn't see you buying a $60 game on something you're no longer even owning. I'm going to pay $60 on something
to stream a game.
Stream a game.
But I can't see how they would make so much money just off of a service. Just like a subscription service, like, hey, pay $60, even if it was $60 a month. How many games, if, this month, Division 2, Sekiro, and that's already $120 right there. I want to say Anthem just came out at the start of this month too, so there's $180. If you're paying $60 and you're getting all three of these games, which, even if you spent 50 hours each, where's the margin of profit and how much money is that person making on the back end? But then again, you're also saving that profit because now there's no disc that you have to press. Right. You don't have to send it out. You don't have to do all this crazy like
there's
marketing
nothing,
and stuff.
man.
And then that's also weird. You would have to go really hard on like the digital marketing. Then like commercials would mean more than anything.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
as someone like I have Google Red now, I haven't watched a commercial in forever. So how am I, unless I personally am going out of my way to look stuff up myself, how am I gonna know what game is gonna come out when? And you know, I miss a ton of commercials as it is.
Right. The other thing was, so this thing comes out, right? Because you're talking about how are they going to make their revenue, or what's the big question of if, but it's like, it's Google, right? So you know they've got a plan in order.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's something, but
they're not building this thing just to be like, oh, let's try our hand. Like, you know what I mean? They're going to be all in, and what a way to tackle it. I mean, what happens to what happens to the big three once now a big four is in?
I don't know, because even another I mean, people complain all the time now, like, oh, that used to be the big excuse is we couldn't get this game to these graphics because we spent so much time working on this console, and now it's 3 consoles plus PC, so it's an overload for a studio. So now it's technically adding a 4th console that's streaming something now, so that's something else that you have to include into your margins of, you know, we got to dedicate so much time to making sure this works, and this works, you know, flawlessly.
Flawlessly, man. Because that's the thing. When you put out your next system, generally they're limited to what they were projecting over like a 4 to 5, 6 year span, right? Google's going to be constantly updating. It's going to be constantly
that would be the thing
top
too.
Of the line.
So,
You're going to have to upgrade your system. Or if something new comes out in a year, guess what? You have it.
I mean,
it comes out in 2 years, you have it.
It sounds really, really cool. So, I mean, that's like a really...
It's definitely the most innovative thing that's happened in the last...
I think so. Because personally,
gaming.
I would love to just, you know, if I'm done playing the game, or if I'm not done playing the game, but maybe, you know, my girlfriend wants to watch something, or she just wants me to hang out on the couch with her while she's watching something, I can just pull up a tablet and just pick up where I left off on, like, you know, Dark Souls or something like that, and just continue playing on my tablet. I mean, they kind of do that ish now in a way with like the Windows Play Anywhere, like the Windows Store. You know, some games can do like Quantum Break and stuff. So it's kind of an idea like that. So there was a quote, and I think that Phil Spencer said like he saw it and he thought it was cool what they were doing, but I think he said it's not like a crazy surprise. I would have to pull up the quote in general.
I remember what you're saying.
I'm sure that's something that they've been working on in a way, because they've been talking almost like games as a service, and the way they're putting Xbox Live out here, and here. I'm sure that maybe that's something that they've been working on too, and you know, they're always willing to try weird things. You know, they tried to do the stuff with like the whole television, the Xbox, and all that, and that idea didn't work, and that's not what people wanted. But you know, who knows what this thing could do, because there was also what was it, the Steam box that came out, and that was supposed to be like the big console for people who don't want this big PC in the room. You know, you have the box and it's like a cheaper buy-in, and it's supposed to work well, and I don't really hear anyone talking about those too much either.
Yeah, that's not even a whisper anymore. I was also thinking earlier is what does it do in terms of like handhelds, right? Because PS Vita is pretty much going away. 3DS is still around, but like when you take something like this and you get something like the xCloud that's coming out, and you can start playing it on just any mobile device you have, is there any more incentive except to play a Mario or Zelda game to even buy like a 3DS anymore?
I think that's enough.
My tablet is now my handheld.
That's enough incentive though, because those games you can now play anywhere, but those games you can only play on Nintendo. They've got that like market locked and on niche. Right. You know, you can't play Zelda, Metroid, or any of these other games anywhere else besides there. And that's the thing, is I would say PlayStation, you know, they have you know, amazing games and they have amazing talent. But I wouldn't say anything is on maybe for me, on the scope of like memorable, like to where I'm thinking back to where I would pay to get this versus where I can do that on a Game Boy, you know, like, you know, Pokemon, Zelda, Metroid,
right,
Donkey Kong, just any of those games that are huge names that are, you know, have been around forever.
Right. So what now happens because the big thing that Google is kind of promoting is that they are going to be an official cross-platform player. So you're going to be able to jump in with anybody that's which the game's open to. How does that move? Like, does that open more doors for like Sony saying, hey, now I need to be like that, because that's just one more thing now Google's offering that we're not. Xbox has to go, well, that's one more thing they're offering that we're not.
Well, Xbox is already kind of working on that.
Xbox is starting it with their whole...
But yeah, I understand what you mean. I don't know, because it's just going to have to see what games are there. Like, is Call of Duty going to go out and make a big their next Call of Duty on the Stadia, how's that going to run? Is because it's got to run equal across all platforms, of course, because you can't just have one where it works crazy better than it does the rest. And they're running off their own servers versus, what everyone else, because they said their stuff is going to be running on their own servers. Like, it's their, you're not going to, their example that they used was it's not going to be off of one player's, the weakest denominator. Everyone's running off of him as the host, as opposed to how it is on console. So if I'm playing cross-platform and this person's got, a direct line feed and I'm still using, some dude's KFC connection, like, why would I want to even play with someone else like that who's already got the edge over me?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's just so many new factors here that's kind of just hard to wrap our heads around when they've take a stab at explaining it, but they haven't explained everything yet, right? And we won't know until we actually see, because the game they started off with, the demo test was like Assassin's Creed, right? A game that you can't really show off in terms of a multiplayer. I
thought it looked a little weird, like running around and kind of like it was hanging up, but I mean that stuff happens during a demo, so it might just be that it's not fine tuned or whatever. I think the bigger thing too to worry about is when my internet goes out. At least now, if my internet goes out, I can play games offline. It might not be Call of Duty or anything like that, but I could still play, all kinds of stuff and do my thing. That you're not going to arguably be able to play anything. What if something happens like when PlayStation got hacked and their network was down forever on the PlayStation 3?
That's the big
that was, if they got hacked, 2 months, a month, even 2 weeks is a long time for your service that someone is paying for, that I have paid for, and this is even more. I paid for a game, and now I cannot play it at all.
And who knows how long, right?
Yeah.
Based on where you're at or what the current event is. The other thing I thought that was interesting was, I don't know if it was about halfway through or towards the end, they announced who it's opening for, right? It was like the USA, the UK, most of like Europe and Canada. So you get something like Google, right? That's one of the biggest companies in the world. Why is it not opening in like Japan, where there's a huge gaming market, like South Korea, things like that? Like, why? I didn't really put much thought of it when I first watched it, but when we just watched it again, it kind of caught my eye, and it's a split second, at least on that video. It's only like 4 places that it's coming out in.
Maybe it's just to tread waters and see how they do. I mean,
if you're trying to make as much money as you can on something that we're questioning how they're even going to make money, wouldn't you want that service to be available to as many people as you can, as fast as you can?
But wouldn't you rather only put out product where it's going to sell than put something out that's going to sit? Because sometimes, what if Japan just doesn't get it? What if America doesn't get it? What if this country just doesn't get it and it's not for them and it's thriving everywhere else, and it takes that slow fire to catch on,
Yeah.
It could be that slow burn, or maybe it is because it's brand new that they know that they are guaranteed to sell because it's not a Japanese company.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what it's like over in Japan. I don't know. I'm sure they use Google, but I don't know as far as like that culture goes. If Xbox doesn't sell crazy well, it hardly sells at all in Japan. And whether or not it's because of the games or because it's not a Japanese company is up for debate. Yeah. I'm sure it's a lot of both. But, could Google just go put something out next to a PlayStation? And again, it's all at the buying cost. And be like, hey, here's this. It's our thing now. You got to go through this.
So, with all that being said, first impressions of it. Is it something you are interested in and want to see more of? Or is it right now just kind of I'm hesitant, let's kind of wait and see what develops?
I want to see more of it. I'm hesitant, but I want to see a lot more of it. I want to know what's going on and like what it means, and I really want to see what everyone else has to say about it. Like what's PlayStation going to do about it, what's Xbox going to do about it. That's my bigger thing, because I'm already kind of I'm not locked into this ecosystem, but I would rather. I like Xbox. I like my party chats and my Xbox Live system, all my achievements and those sort of things. Same. I'm sure PlayStation. You have your trophies and all that jazz. To give all that stuff up for convenience, I guess I could do that. But it's also kind of weird to think about going back and playing games now and not unlocking like achievements. Like I only go out of my way to unlock hard ones for games that I truly love. But it's still, even when I'm playing like a game that I don't care about, I still do care about, there's this achievement, that achievement. It's nice to see that stuff pop up every now and then.
It kind of gives you that, like that checklist. You're like, all right, I'm going to play this game, and I'm at least, I think Gino, he kind of brought it to me the other day. He's playing Gwent, and I didn't know Gwent had achievements. I thought back when it originally came out, there was nothing to unlock. And he said he's playing it, and he's like, yeah, I would have been done with it, but there's an achievement to play like X amount of games. So if I just play a little bit more, I'm gonna unlock it. So like, yeah, he's purposely playing a game that he normally would have probably stopped at, based on the Xbox feel of, yeah, let me just pop that 20 achievement and then I'll move on. So is Google gonna offer something like that? Are there gonna be? Can you link it with your achievements? Or
I think
like
it is nice to have stuff like that because I think it's
going off. I'm sorry, guys. I thought I turned it off.
I think it's nice to have something like that because I think it's a double-edged sword. Like, yeah, without that stuff, you could go back to the time of like, 64, original PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, to where you're just playing these games and you just don't care about the achievements, all the side stuff. You're not distracted by all these things. But I've also put a lot more time into some games than I would have normally because of these achievements. Right. Playing it on a harder mode, testing myself.
Yeah.
I like doing that originally, but realistically, would I already play games like Dark Souls that are hard naturally. Would I go through and play this other game on a hardcore mode or something like that just to say that I did?
Right, yeah.
No, probably not. I would just beat it, enjoy the story for what it is, and then, be done with it. And then, in that case, I'm not getting as much time out of it as I normally would have.
Right. I mean, it's all interesting. It's all crazy. I mean, who's to say what's going to happen? It's definitely... how do you say it? It's definitely... something that I think we could use, like, right? It's something that where it's futuristic. It's something you
gotta have that good internet connection too. At least 25 megs they said for it too.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think it's like minimum 25, which I don't know. I think most places have, but I always see all kinds of people, or even people commenting on there. Oh, I've got 1, 5, whatever.
Right.
And there's no way.
Yeah, I think we can definitely be in a space that can use it, and all these young bucks, all these kids growing up, this could be their... Imagine if that's your starting system. Like, yeah, my starting system...
Your starting system is every game?
Yeah, was me moving it from my phone to my tablet to my Chromecast to this to that. It's like, it's interesting. So, but the question is, guys, again, what do you think of it? Is it something that you think is going to be awesome? Is it something that you think is a waste of time? Is it something you think Google's wasting their time and money on? My general opinion is no. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really cool thing. And now we just play the waiting game. Because that's the other thing. They said that it's releasing in the end of this year. So it's not like we just got this announcement and it's like, 2022, it's coming out. They're like, in 9 months.
Well, I think they said that they're going to talk about more, like, I think it's like summer or closer to summer or something like that. Who knows? Maybe they'll have an E3 conference or just around E3.
I was going to say, Google's going to have its own conference, man. You do all the crazy stuff they're doing. But, I mean, we'll see. The last thing on the list, Andrew... is something that you pointed out to me the other day, and I watched all the stuff on it, is the Nintendo. We talked about it last episode, but Nintendo is just growing in terms of the mass appeal, because it's just now getting a game that was originally an exclusive on the Xbox, and a game that I know you loved, I loved it, was Cuphead, right? So
yeah.
Does that speak more about the last episode when we were talking about that kind of that little marriage that's happening between Xbox and Nintendo, that they're getting this game now?
Yeah, I mean... the rumor is that Xbox approached them saying, hey, let's put this game on your console. And I'm sure them are like, hey, why not? So, I mean, it really shows how open they are. But, it's a totally weird time for, like, everything. But, yeah, it's supposed to launch, I think, here next month.
Okay, that's what
then achievements are at a later date for it is what it is.
That's going to be cool. Is it still the same price point? What are they launching it as, do you know?
Oh, I have no clue.
That was one thing I
would have to look that up. But, I mean, it seems like it's pretty cool. And, I mean, the Switch seems like the perfect place for a game like that.
Perfect. It's designed for a game like that.
I haven't beat it. I made it to, like, the end. I've got, like, 3 bosses left. And I think just so many other things came out that it's been on my list of games to go back and beat. And I've been dragging my feet hard.
Yeah, it's a great game, and it kind of leads to the next point of, like, what other games could Microsoft give to Nintendo, or what other big games are they going to get? Because the original thing when anyone bought a Switch when it first came out would be awesome, was the Nintendo Switch only had exclusives on it, right? That was the reason, again, like any other Nintendo system, I got to buy this to play Zelda or Mario. But it's been an avalanche in the terms of how many games Nintendo Switch is getting every month, right? Because we just also watched the Nindies that came out, and they've got a slew of games that are dropping, and it's like Nintendo almost has too many games to play, right?
I feel like they're putting out like lots of really cool content. I like when they're willing to, even though it's the same, like, let's say a popular IP, but they'll make something, a different version of it, like they did the before they did Hyrule Warriors instead of like the is it
like
what's that Samurai Warriors Dynasty Warriors, yeah, I knew it was something Warriors. Yeah. So taking that game and then putting the Zelda IP on it, I thought that was really cool. Yep. Whether or not it played well or not, I mean, I think it's cool to see stuff like that outside the box. Or I know there's that one on the list. You have the name of it right there. I don't know.
For the Nindies that came out, it's the Cadence of Hyrule was the one we just watched, and all the indie games that are coming out. That's that hybrid. Was between Legend of Zelda and I wasn't sure what the other game was.
I've never seen the other game either, but I saw it on. It's like Cadence of something. I think maybe that's where they got it from.
And it's a cool little mix of just another badass game. That's
just like gameplay style. The graphics I thought looked like really cool. It was like a different take. It wasn't like a super like this screamed Zelda at me. I thought it was really, really cool. I really liked it. And I like that the music playing, if it's the music they're actually going to use for it, is similar and reminiscent of like the Game Boy Zeldas and stuff like that in the background. Yeah. That's kind of like when I was hearing that song, it just reminded me of like Link's Awakening or something like that, or playing something on like the DS. Yeah. Or not the DS, the color.
It's because I just keep thinking of what more can the Switch, because that was the big question. What more can it get in terms of, right? Because it has to scale down, right? I mean, it can't, like when it got Skyrim, it's not the same one you're running on like your PS4 or your Xbox, but it still runs nice. And I know the big one everyone's kind of looking at is Grand Theft Auto 5, and that'd be insane.
It's weird to think of a game being that like violent or whatever, like on a console that's normally,
well, I mean, you still have your rating though,
not known for that.
Right, but I mean, but that's the thing though, Nintendo Switch is completely just picking up everything, right? It kind of seems like they've let go of that we're just for family. I mean, obviously that's what they're known for. Their big selling games are family games, but it's like they're at the point where like, hey, we're done of these guys only having it and these guys only having it. Like we're now taking all of them. We're taking all applications.
Even if it's like a scaled down version, I don't think that anyone really cares. Because I don't
think that cares. Yeah,
that's not what you're buying a Switch for. And if you really care that much about graphics, you're not buying a PlayStation or an Xbox. You're buying a PC.
Right. Yeah. Well. I don't think as much as I look, even if I wasn't more into graphics than gameplay, I don't know if I'd be one of those guys that.
Oh, I know, I love my X, but I didn't buy it like, oh man, this looks way better or anything like that. I like having the newest sometimes, and
I just think it's cool that
some of my games do run better on it.
I just think it's cool that Nintendo is now nice getting everything, branching out. They're getting so many games, and anyone that was ever a Nintendo exclusive, and there are those people out there. They don't have to look at everyone else play all the good games. Like, dude, we have good stuff now.
So Xbox has now put that game on there. I don't know if I could see them though putting a game over. Not in
terms of Nintendo going to them.
Nintendo to them, yeah. Not like, like Legend of Zelda or something. Oh, yeah. But what was that other one that came out for? That almost looked like a kind of Final Fantasy game. Octonauts?
Oh, no, Octopath.
Octopath. Oh, yeah, I don't know why I said... Is that a game, Octonauts? Or am I mixing up Psychonaut?
Yeah, I was saying, because Psychonauts was jumping in my head, but no, Octopath was that RPG that Cien was playing.
Yeah.
And I want Cien, so let me borrow.
And that one's only on Nintendo as far as I know. Yep. So you think they could put something like that, be like, all right, you gave us something here, let's give you a little something.
That would be cool, because if anything, that'd be the kind of game to give them, right? You don't give them a Mario, you don't give them a Zelda, you don't give them a Donkey Kong.
It's not a huge name, but it's a big enough name, because... Cuphead's not massive, but it's a pretty big name, and it's a pretty big deal because it was a great game.
It won awards.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, and after watching that trailer, it still looks amazing.
Oh, I love that commercial. I thought that commercial was absolutely great.
Because you were pointing out that song, and they have that whole song is just dedicated to it, recognizing that it's switching over to the Switch.
I just like self-aware commercials like that. Man. Those ones are always really cool.
I love it. So, with that, guys, let me ask you this before we wrap this up. Is it worth buying now more than ever? Like, has getting Cuphead on there in future games, are you leaning any more towards getting it before a Pokemon game comes out? Or are you going to wait until, like, a Pokemon that Link's Awakening come out?
I think I'll wait for the Link's Awakening unless there's something special. But, if deals come up and stuff like that, I might find myself, buying this game, that game more. I think there's no better time to jump in on a Switch than, now.
You know what my hardest problem is right now? Is I'm having an issue of deciding how to play my games, like, in order. Like, I have an Xbox, I have a PS4, and I have a Switch. And I'm just having a hard time going, like, how do I balance this all out correctly? Do you have any thoughts for me?
You don't.
What do I stick to?
Play your Switch in the bathtub? Leave it plugged in and drop it.
Yeah, because I've only beaten a handful of games on the Switch, and I need to start playing more. And the more news I hear like this, I'm like, dude, why am I not just on my Switch?
I know
more often.
I don't even have one yet. And again, it's just I find just with an Xbox only, I'm having a hard time just juggling, all these different games that I, if for the game that doesn't have exclusive or doesn't have games to play, I find myself not having time to play anything because I'm so busy. It's just one game after another right now. All these other big games are really like filling it in. Yeah, I wish there was like a cool exclusive, but there's so many great games coming out right now that I guess I haven't really noticed as much because it hasn't really been an issue.
Right.
Because there's so much other stuff to play right now.
Gotcha. So guys, Switch gaining game after game after game. What game do you think the Switch we could see in the next 6 months, right? Is it Grand Theft Auto 5 like possible? Could Microsoft give them a game like Quantum Break or something like that? I think that'd be interesting. Highly unlikely, but it's interesting. So with all that being said, Andrew, we are done with the 3 bullet points. Is there anything you want to riff on at all today? You want to riff?
I'm gonna get Sekiro tonight.
Ooh, midnight release?
Yeah, well, 9 o'clock release, but yeah.
Early midnight releases?
Yeah, I don't have time for the midnight release anymore either.
You're gonna pick that up tonight. Is it a collector's edition that goes on your media shelf?
I asked the dude if I can try and get a collector's edition because I didn't realize.
Do they have collector's editions?
Yeah, they had a really cool one that I didn't realize until yesterday, and by then it was too late. Yeah, it's actually I thought it was pretty cool, and it was only like $89. Yeah, and so I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, all right, that's pretty cool. So I don't know. The guy said he's gonna try and hook me out. Other than that, I don't think I have any other stories to really riff on. You got anything to riff on?
No, I think I'm riffless today.
Well, then what are you playing?
What am I playing? So, making a long story short, St. Paddy's Day was very rough to me. So this last week, I haven't put in any game time in. So what I have been playing though is I'm still playing GTA 5. I'm the farthest now than I've ever been before. And with that, but to put that in context, I've played it once on the 360. Got as far as I did, and I've restarted again on the Xbox One. So as of right now, I'm the farthest I've ever been. So I think I looked it up, and I think I'm roughly 20 missions or 15 missions away from being done. So that's kind of on the horizon.
I don't remember it being that long, but I do remember it being long. So
yeah, well, and long in terms of you can get lost, man. Like I'm having.
There is so much to do.
I'm having to just restrain myself because I'll just see a side mission, and I'm like, nope. Craig, you're not playing. This isn't Skyrim. You're not playing this to go help out your daughter, do whatever. Like, stick to the mission. Switch over to Trevor.
Dude, I'll just get lost sometimes too. Like, all right, I wonder if I could hit this jump, do this, do that, and like just try and drive a weird thing.
Man, there's so many missions. I'm driving. I see a ramp. I'm just like.
Or I remember I spent like a while like trying to like steal a plane, fly it, and then trying to fly it through the tunnel. Steal it again.
I hate flying planes, man.
I suck at flying it, but it was fun trying to get it through the tunnel and just doing. I just get lost doing dumb stuff like that.
Yeah. I find, especially when I'm doing Trevor, because he always has he's always around like the off-road vehicles. He's always got like his like Jeep and all that stuff.
He's always got the craziest things going on.
Yep, and then I know what I'm looking forward to play is I want to buy the new Devil May Cry 5, right?
I heard it's great.
Everything, I almost bought it day one, but again, last week was rough to me, so I was waiting on it until I have a good day to sit down and play it.
Capcom's back.
But because I loved the last one. And that's the thing, I was never into Devil May Cry's. Like, I've played them a little bit, but that last one, just the self-titled thing.
The Devil May Cry
DMC.
A lot of people hate that one, too.
Well, being my first entry into it, I don't know if they're comparing it to the old ones, and maybe it was, not as good. But I loved it, man, and I just got Juno to play it, and he loves it. So I'm looking at that new trailer, and I'm just like, dude, for the new one, I'm like,
I have it for the Game Pass. I've been wanting to jump into it. I think the other ones are on there
and
too.
You can beat it in a day, especially if you're not playing it on like hard or anything, or you're trying to go back and.
Oh, it's not that. Oh, maybe I would jump it in.
There's like 20 missions or so, and you could beat that game in a good, like a day sit down or a 2-day sesh.
Oh, maybe I will try it out.
If you're not trying to collect everything and go beat everything on hard.
No, I just want to play it just to get into it. Because that new one I think looks really cool. So
because it's one of those games that have like 6 levels of difficulty, like a Wolfenstein. It's got like easy, medium, devil, angel.
I'll take the easy for me.
Hey, so what are you playing?
Right now I'm actually really into the Division 2.
Oh yeah, you just got that.
It just came out. So that game actually, what's surprising is after playing Anthem and not liking it really at all, I was like, all right, I kind of have a taste for shoot 'em loot 'em. And I was like, all right, I'll at least get the Division 2, play it, get bored of it, get my money's worth. I'm actually loving it. Like, I'm really liking it a lot more than what I thought. I thought I was just going to get in, play it with my friends as a game to play with my friends and get out. But I'm actually enjoying playing it by myself.
Nice.
I'm really getting, like, as soon as it's taking me a little while now, too, so I'm playing. Anytime there's a flare that goes up that someone needs help, I'll jump in instantly and just go help somebody else out. And I'm getting lost doing that, just going and helping random strangers and stuff. I'm actually having a lot more fun with that game than I thought I was going to.
Is it that big of a difference from number 1? I mean, so when you're playing that and doing that, are you reminiscing like, oh yeah, I remember doing this in the first one?
I don't remember liking one at all.
Okay.
I which is weird. Maybe that one was just at a different time, or I don't know what else I was playing. Like, I don't know the landscape of what games were out at that time.
Right.
But I remember playing one and just not being. I was like, it's all right. It's an okay game. But I'm actually really enjoying this one a lot, surprisingly.
Nice,
so
good. So it delivered.
I'll put it this way: that's actually the high of my week is playing that game.
Playing the game. The total package is your high of the week.
Yeah, because I was so surprised at how much I'm really enjoying it that I'm really having a lot of fun playing it.
So it's one of the best games you've played $60 for and feel you're getting your complete money's worth.
It's one that
Especially after playing Kingdom Hearts 3.
I'm playing it and I'm like, all right, one more mission. I'm really close to this thing, so I'll go and do that really quick. And next thing I know, it's 3 hours later,
yeah, that's when
and I haven't even progressed the story. I'm just doing a bunch of little side stuff that I'm running up on, and checking out all my loot and everything. Like I said, I'm really, I'm not crazy by any means. Going to be like, oh, I know how to do this, that, to where my guy's OP and stack all the effects and everything. But for just getting in there, raw fun, I'm having a lot of fun playing.
Is it a game you're keeping for a while then? Is it safe to say it's going to be on your shelf for a minute?
Yeah, I'll definitely play it for a bit, or I mean, at the I'll definitely at least beat it all the way through and enjoy it and have fun.
Nice.
Versus, feel like I'm racing through it just for the sake of beating it.
Just to return it to GameStop and get your credit worth.
Yeah, well.
For how much longer? Who knows?
Spoilers, my low was Kingdom Hearts, because the end of that game was bad. I hated it. I just could not get in there, and that was a game that I just raced through.
You're putting towards two complete highs and lows just based on the game themselves. No particular experience.
Oh man, dude, I made it to Pirates of the Caribbean World, so I put a chunk of time into. That's one of the spoilers. That's one of the final 2 worlds.
Was it one of your favorite worlds though?
It was okay.
Okay, because I thought I will tell you one.
Randomly. No, my favorite's Corona.
Okay.
Spoilers. But it seems, and maybe it's because they went with a realistic look. Once you hit that Pirates World, the graphics spike and look so much better, and it's so odd. I had to ask your brother about that. I was like, "Is it just me, or when you made it to that world, did it seem like the graphics spiked all of a sudden?" I was like, maybe it's just because the realistic one. But big hero level sucked. I didn't like it. I didn't like the end of the game. I didn't like fighting the same bosses 80,000 times. I didn't like revisiting the worlds to fight one stupid dude floating around doing the same attacks in 7 different other worlds. I hated
the whole game.
Not the whole game, because I really want to watch Tangled now. 10 years later.
At least you got something out of it. You got something Disney magic out of it.
Yeah, I loved that section so much that I really want to watch that movie, because I feel like she would be my new favorite Disney princess. Yeah,
hey, there you go. You at least you pulled something out of it. And I think we kind of talked on that last time. I think we're supposed to watch it, but I'll let you set the date. Well, you're doing a whole game. I think of my high was so I actually knocked off another game on the Last Call production Power Hour, the video game Power Hour, and it was also my low. So I'll tie that one together. So and it's not a new UFC. It's the EA Sports UFC 2. And I'm not a big sports playing guy. So playing this game, I could not wrap my head around the mechanics of it. There's just so much.
I don't understand grappling.
It overwhelms you. It's just like grapple this, clinch this, do this, and I could not beat it. And it was one of those things where I was like, man, it's gonna suck, because if this is the game I have to pass on to say I didn't complete the 60 games because I couldn't beat this game, I was gonna be pissed. So that's how my week started. That was my low. My buddy Lane came into town from Vegas, who plays UFC quite often, and he just showed me just a couple of pointers. Like, I tried looking on YouTube just for easier ways to do it and without all the answers being get good and do the trainings. He showed me just a couple of things to do,
Oh, I guarantee you
changed
just
my
became a stand-up
changed my whole
striker.
game. Yeah, and I just fucked up everybody. One dual belted lightweight and flyweight, and or
That's cool
featherweight,
because that
whatever they
kind of
call
thing
it.
can change it for you. Like
It made
I
the
think
game,
maybe that's why like
enjoyable. Like I didn't almost want to stop. I'm like, dude, let me go one more round and just knock somebody out.
like when you were telling me that, like it makes me think like I think it was Fight Night Round 3 was on like the 360, and I'm not like a like fighting person, but that game I just like standing up and like boxing with somebody. But on that one, you can just throw haymakers all day. So I like the stand up fighting part of it, or in that game like the kicking and stuff like that. But once it gets to the ground, I'm like, I just can I? How do I tap out already?
Well, it was even one of those things where like back when I did play like a UFC, I think it was like Undisputed or something like that. Like those on the PS2, I could play those games. But once you play this one, there's just so much more mechanics involved. I was just like, I'm playing other things. I don't need to waste 3 hours learning how to just play this
something
game.
you're just trying to be. Yeah, I get if I get overwhelmed with the mechanics on a game, then I'm out sometimes.
Yeah. So, guys, write down in the comments, what have you been playing? What are you looking forward to? I'm looking Devil May Cry 5. He's got Sekiro coming out tonight that he's going to go pick up right after this. So write in what you've been playing. Write in what you've been doing. Again, guys, if you have any comments or questions you want to ask us, we want to start reading those. Write to us on lastcallproductions@gmail.com. You can follow us on Last Call PRODZ, Last Call Prods on Twitter, Last Call Productions at Instagram. Other than that, though, we are done for the day. So let me cheers you.
Cheers to beersies.
My name is Craig Perales for Andrew Montemayor. Have a good one.